Hello, and this is the second part of your final project. So, what I want to do right now is I want to go over a few of the concepts about using databases. Okay. One thing you need to use a database with a program, you need a connection to the database. If you don't have a connection, you're not going to pull any data to and from it. And this time we're going to work on establishing your connection. You will have to do this quite a bit in this project. If you do this properly the first time, you can just copy and paste the connection information as needed. Okay. This is my login screen. See, I've got username, password, login, close, and a register button. And right now we're going to be working on the login, because what we want to happen when you click your login, it's going to pull the username and the password you've entered, compare them to what's in the database, and allow you to log in. So, going back here, got this. One of the things that we want to do to use databases, we actually have to let it know that we're using system.data.oledb. Now, you'll see that there's an OL or an ODBC. Okay. We are using OLEDB, make sure it's right there, and it stands for an object linking and embedding database. Okay. This is important if you're using other forms of databases like SQL, or you're accessing a database online. You're going to be using something different, but for us, we are using an object linking and embedding database. Okay. That's Microsoft Access. Okay. So, to establish a connection to a database, you need what's called a connection string. Now, this string has two pieces of information in it. It has the database provider and the data source. Okay, so it has the kind of database that we're working with, and it has the source. It allows the program to know how to deal with the specific intricacies of your program. Now, so first thing we need to do is create a string, and it's going to be a connection string. A lot of different tutorials and stuff will tell you S connection or string connect. Yeah, some form of this is a typical name, and we want to give it the value. And it's a doozy, but provider equals Microsoft.ace.oledb.12.0 semicolon plus provider equals wherever your data source is located. That's an actual connection. This is just like messing around with files. Okay. This is a very standard, it's the connection string. This is different for every vendor. Microsoft has plenty of different access databases, access types. It's a pain in the butt. You don't have to memorize these though. There is a website called connectionstrings.com. This is beautiful. It has in it the connection strings for each kind of vendor you can imagine. It has the proper libraries for you to download and work with these. These are great. It can help you out so much if you're using other things. Since we're using Access and we're using Microsoft Access, we want the ACE, and typically it's access.oledb.12.0 with your data source wherever your data source is located. You can type in the persist security info equals false if you don't have a password. If you do need a password, that's part of your string. Now, because we're using a very powerful tool, you can actually do something that I've already done, but you can kind of let Visual Studios know to go ahead and create the connection string object. What you want to do is go to Project, add a new data source. Data source, we're adding a database. We're adding a data set. Okay. You can go ahead and click New Connection, and this is going to pop up. All right. You already know it's a Microsoft database. If you close this, because I already have this connection set up, you're going to have to select this. You want to access database. It's in the .network provider. Then you just need to find your database file. So where you saved it from the previous video. All right. Add this. You're not going to have any passwords, so you don't have to worry about this. And you're going to click Test Connection. Test connection succeeded, meaning this is a good database. Now, if you're using your home computer, you may run into an issue and you may have to download a driver. Okay? I highly encourage you to use VMware for this project. If you don't, you can download the driver, you can figure it out. There's guides on how to do that. It's not very difficult, but it's up here on connection string. You can, let's see here, down at the bottom. It's one of the most common questions they get asked. Yes, right here. Provider is not registered on local machine. You go here. They're just going to tell you exactly where to go to download it. That's simple, but I'm not really going to cover this in class, and you should really know how to install drivers on your own. But after your test connection succeeds, so remember, if you get a test connection failure, you're not using VMware. Or at least you're not using the proper way to use VMware. Okay? Now, you can click this button, and it's actually going to give you the full provider string for you. Data source equals my docs. Okay, that's great. You can copy this. You can go ahead and click next. Okay. Now, what it's going to do is it's actually going to copy the database from your wherever it's located into your resource files. I highly recommend doing this. It's a very good and easy way to handle everything. So just make sure that it's there. Okay, you can see it already exists. That's not a problem. Right over it. We want to bring in the tables and the views. Finish. Now you can see here, I actually have another data set, crazy because it had to rename it, but just go ahead and delete this one. Not a problem. Okay. Now, with this though, you can access your data source by simply pasting that connection string. Okay. You'll notice some red squiggly lines. You have two options here. You can either double up on each one of these backslashes all the way through. Okay, that is up to you. You can do that. It is much easier though to keep things as they are and make this string a verbatim string, which ignores those escape characters. All right, you do that by simply putting an @ in front of it. Okay, and with this, we have our connection string created. Next, we need to create an object for our connection. Okay. This is accessed by typing in OLEDB connection, typing in the name that we're going to be calling this connection. So, okay, I'm just going to call it Final Project Connect equals new DB connection, and you are going to pass to that connection your connection string so it knows where to find it. Next, all you need to do is just final project connection dot open. Okay, because you're opening the project. This is a fairly straightforward way. You've established a connection as long as you follow these steps, but let's talk about some things that can go wrong, because things are probably going to go wrong. First thing you want to do is actually put this in a try catch block. That'll allow you to find out if things go wrong without either crashing your program or the program running as if everything's okay. So remember to delete the throw. And what we want to do is take the exception, let's name it something, except, and let's make label warning dot text equals to convert to string except. So if something goes wrong here, the label warning I set up, which is actually this one right here, will turn to let us read what's going wrong. All right, everything looks like this will work. Press start. It's running. We can click the login. Nothing here happens. Great. But let's see what happens if the source doesn't lead anywhere. Right. We click login. We're getting a ton of errors right here. So we know something's wrong with that string. Another way we can actually do is to pull the data source. Since this is a local resource, we can actually just let it know. It should connect straight to final project.accdb, or whatever it is you named it. It'll be right up there. And this might not work because I deleted the new one. I might have to reinsert it, but click login. You'll see there's no errors. It was able to find the database. It was able to establish that connection. A recommendation to everybody is that you actually put this when you load the form, right after initialize component. That's a nice way just to make sure everything goes good, goes well. Now, always remember that when you open something, you also do want to make sure you close it. This is going to save you a lot of heartache. So always make sure that your computer, when it opens the database connection, it can also close it. Changes to the database cannot be made finalized until you close it. Okay. And with that, what we've done is the first part of the login form. Congratulations. Thank you for watching.